Lady Love, so good to see you. Many of you were here this morning. So good to have you again, and some new faces in here as well. For those of you I have not met, it is such a pleasure to meet you. My name is Michelle Argras. I am a somatic breathwork coach, and I always say a lover of women and these kinds of spaces. This summit has just blown my mind in so many ways. The facilitators we've had have been so incredible. I've learned so much myself, and it's just been such a pleasure to spend this loving time with all of you, just getting to do the thing and doing stuff that we love. So today I have Valeria Emanuel here, who I'm so thrilled to present. It's so interesting because my period's not here yet, by the way. Hello. I'm like waiting for it. I'm wearing her panties right now. Can we just hear it for Val's period panties? Yes. Okay. So I needed one more person for this beautiful summit. And I was like, who is she? And I had other people I could have had on the panel. And I'm like, it just didn't sit quite right. And then I went to this women's circle. So that I was not hosting, which was nice because I'm usually hosting stuff. So it was nice. I like to go to things where I get to just experience and meet other women too. And let me let some more people in here. And Val walks in with these boxes of period panties and tampons that were made of beautiful materials for our vaginas. I mean, she had this whole, and she's just smiling. She came in with 15 boxes. I'm like, are those free? She's like, yeah, I brought them for you guys. I'm like, wow, thank you. And I was like, can you tell me more about this? And she was telling me a little bit about her story. And I'm like, wow, you're my final thought leader for this summit. You're exactly who I wanted. I wanted somebody who had to earn and create what she has. And I'll let you tell your story as well, Val, but starting from nothing and creating something so beautiful that is there to support and help women and uplift women is obviously what I'm all about. So this fits so beautifully. So I am going to pass it over to you without further ado. This is beautiful Val.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. I see some of my friends are on, and I love that there's so many people. I'll go ahead and introduce myself. First, I'm going to share my screen. Starting share screen will stop other computer sound share. Yes, that's fine. Okay, I'm not the best with technology. I have a 10-and-a-half-year-old, and she actually helps me with a lot of technology stuff. So, okay, enter full screen. Okay, can everybody see this? Thumbs up. I can see you, ladies. I'm keeping you on the side so I can see you. All right. So my name is Valeria Emanuel. I'm one of the co-founders of a period care brand called Rif Care. So as she said, Michelle, we make pads, tampons, and period underwear, but the mission is so much bigger than that. And I think when you're building something that's very public facing, which is why I said building from the inside out, there's so much of you that needs to be put into that and poured into that to have it resonate with other people. So I just want to talk about that. And also, this is extremely interactive. I might miss questions, so just put the questions in the chat, even if you're going to say them out loud, just in case I miss it. We can come back to it in the end. But let's keep this interactive. I will ask questions, and I definitely want you to unmute and let's have a conversation. So building from the inside out, passion, purpose, and women-led brands. So number one is the lived experience that started it all. So like I said, I'm the founder of Rif. Rif stands for Regenerative International Female. That's the name of the brand. And there were so many things that went into me starting this company. So this is a picture of me in 2018. It was right after the Woolsey fire. We'd moved out of our house in Malibu to another, we were moving into another house. So we had a container in front of this house, and we were like, okay, we're going to go to Portugal, and then we'll come back and we'll move. And we get back on November 5th, 2018. And I fly over a plume of smoke over Malibu. And I'm like, what the hell is happening? Come back, container's gone, all of our most valuable items gone. And I started going through a very intense life transformation. Number one, I had really bad hormone imbalance. I was a mom of a very young child. I then moved international because there was nowhere to live in Malibu. Very stressful. Didn't see my friends as much as I was used to seeing them, and just had to start all over. And during this, I started to have just really bad issues. I was going to the doctor every 2 weeks to have my hemoglobin checked. My T cell count was so low, but I wasn't testing positive for HIV. So they were very confused. It was like my body was completely out of order. I had a miscarriage and an IUD that had ripped through my uterus. I mean, like so many things going on. And during this time, also, I was in Paris for 2 weeks when Notre Dame burned down, and I was staying 2 blocks from Notre Dame. So my lead, my heavy metals, like stress from the fire, there was so much going on. And for some reason in that time, I decided to really lean into wellness. So I started to do detoxes and red light and all these other therapies. And I remember I was still using like Always and tampons. And I was like, wait, this is the last thing that's missing. For some reason, I have had every single thing in my brain click about what I need to do, fixing my gut health, but I was still using this product. And my ex was like, why do you use this shit? You know what I mean? That was literally it. And I was like, yeah, I need to change. So through that, I just realized, I had to make a change, but I wasn't liking what I was seeing. And you've probably had this experience. I feel like a lot of people are here are very conscious, and you've probably made a lot of decisions about your health and wellness. And sometimes it is hard going from those conventional products that we're using or going from living life a certain way or even communicating a certain way. Like when you're moving away from the way that your family is used to communicating and operating, and then you go into a new mode of communicating and operating. There is like a disconnect that happens. Then you have to get yourself into the higher version of yourself. And so this was the last thing I had to do with my health. And let me go to the next slide. So all of that starting, right? And then I decided, you know what? I'm going to build something for women because this is a space that I really care about. So I started sewing my own reusable pads, and I was on Instagram stories, and I was like, who would use this? What percentage of people would use this? I was putting these Instagram polls because they had just come out, I think in like 2019. So I was using a lot of those and asking questions and getting feedback from people. So that was the first way I started to build. And then I was making a CBD lubricant, and it didn't have a brand. It was not called Rif, but I was selling it at farmers markets sometimes. And I put it up on eBay because I'm like an eBay person, and it started to sell. And I was like, okay, this is like a CBD lube for pain. So people obviously need what I'm building, but I still hadn't had the idea of the actual brand of Rif. I was just making my own pads and making a CBD lubricant because I was also in a lot of pelvic pain. As you know, like as women, when we go through things, our hips and our pelvis and our pelvic floor, that's where we hold so much of our trauma and frustration and everything. So there was just a lot that I was working through. And so those were the two first products. Like I said, I didn't even have a brand name, but I just was like, you know what, let me start putting this out there. And I think as builders, it's very important that you don't let the thought of launching get in front of the building. So number one thing that I would say, and something that I realized I've done in my entire life, even when I was a kid, my first thing was like selling candy at school. And then in LAUSD, for some reason, they said we couldn't have pizza anymore. So I started selling pizza slices. I would like order Domino's as a kid and have cash and then get it at the gate. Like it was, I was like using the school phone and volunteering in the school so I can like call and say I was an adult and order pizza. And then I was selling pizza slices. I sold weed. What else did I sell? PCP, acid. I mean, I sold everything, whatever I can get my hands on, I sold. Not going to say that it was the best at first, but I was just like, I'm just going to do it until I get caught or until somebody tells me no, or we'll see what it turns into. Then I had a whole eBay vintage business. So I just been building. And how many of you have found yourself in that season where you want to build something, but you just can't jump into the action of actually building it or making it happen? If that's happened to you, raise your hand. You've had this idea, and then, okay, the worst thing is when you've had an amazing idea and then you turn on an infomercial or an Instagram ad and you see somebody else has built it. Nothing worse, no worse feeling. And I think all of us as creatives and builders have gone through that. And so I didn't want to go through that anymore, because when I was a kid, I had a lot of ideas. I had a notepad, and now obviously I have the notes app on my phone, but I would write down all my brilliant ideas that people would come up with them. Like there's this wig cap, for example, that's made with Velcro that sticks on your head. I had that idea when I was like in 9th grade. Now it's like $1 billion idea. And I'm just like, fuck, I should have just made it instead of waiting for somebody else to make it. So yeah, number one is build. Number two is test. So once I started to build these things, I started to just give them away for free. Like I said, I put them on eBay. I was telling people, I was going to farmers markets and like giving them to people, but I really wanted to know people's feedback. So this was before, before we had the products, we had to get prototypes. So in 2021, I got like my first investor, which was actually just a guy that I was dating who just happened to be an investor. And this is like a very good luck story. I don't think this really happens to people, but I just was telling him, oh, I'm making this oil and I'm sewing these pads, but I think that there's an opportunity to do like a grocery store brand and do more. And he was like, that sounds amazing. I'm in mergers and acquisitions, like first check. And I was like, oh my God, someone just gave me money and I actually have to do something with it. That freaked me the fuck out. I also want to mention, because I have raised money for our company, we've raised about $600,000. There is nothing scary than you getting the opportunity to do what you want to do and then having to actually execute. I mean, Michelle, you probably know, if you've put on a show and then you set the date and you send the invitation, then you have to do the work. So me and Rebecca, my co-founder, got our first prototypes. And the first thing we did is not sell them for the first pads. So Rif was the first brand to make period care out of hemp fiber and organic cotton. So we take this hemp fiber that's been upcycled from CBD oil production and all these different productions, and we turn it into this non-woven, and that's what we use on the top sheet of our pads. And then for the underwear that Michelle has on right now, those are made with hemp fiber. I am a complete lover of hemp fiber, and I thought there's an opportunity to put this into a disposable product. So we got our first prototypes in like 2 weeks. We worked with this amazing factory. There's a lot of women who were trying to build this specific hemp fiber brand for about a decade. So the fact that like we got our first check and then 3 weeks later we had a prototype, I was like, there is no one who's going to build this faster than us. And there is no one who's going to have the momentum that we have, because those people have raised hundreds of thousands of dollars. This man gave me $10,000 and I have a fucking prototype. Like, you have to tell yourself, I can do. And most times for people, it takes hundreds of thousands of dollars to build their idea. I do not believe in that. I think you can do it with a $300 paycheck. I think you can do it with $20. I think when I started selling the oil, I literally put in like $200 and then I made $1,000 and I was like, that's a margin. That's enough to start with. You know what I mean? But I couldn't build Rif with $200 because you have to use these gigantic machines that make like 100,000 pads at a time and put in these huge orders. But we just started sending them to friends. And then we launched the Kickstarter, could barely make the Kickstarter. It was the hardest thing ever. If you ever have questions about Kickstarter, please call me. I will talk you down about it. Okay. So that was it. We started testing. And then number 3 was pre-launch. Has anybody ever who's built a business or launched something, released it to the world? You're like, I'm going to keep this thing a secret and then I'm going to release it. And then it's like, womp womp. Like, you might open up a course or open up something or post something on social media and it doesn't get the reaction that you think it should get, because we make launch this huge thing, right? You see like Kylie Jenner or the Kardashians be like, oh, we're launching something, and then all of a sudden it's like they sold out 1 million in one day. And that sounds very sexy, but I think for the smaller entrepreneurs, when you're building from scratch, pre-launch is so important. I think people want to be along with you for the journey. So that's why I love that I started doing the Instagram, what is it called? The polls online and all that stuff, because I can now go back into my archive. And when I'm telling the story about Rif, I can see that I was doing that. So I think the pre-launch is really important. Launch day is not one thing. Launch day is forever. I think we just had a launch. We had a launch last week. We launched thong panty liners. And that was like our biggest launch day. We're on launch day. We shipped like almost 200 boxes. You know what I mean? So for me, that was really exciting, but it's not like $1 million launch day. And in reality, I'm going to launch. Justin Bieber, when he launched his new album, posted 97 times in 1 week. And I was like, if Justin Bieber has to post 97 fucking times, so will I. There is no such thing as just some one-time launch and everyone loves it and it just sells out in one day. It's like, I'm going to hammer and talk about my idea until it sells out. And I may take 3 years to sell out of what I ordered, but that's what I'm going to do. Does anybody have anything to chime in or say, or is there anything that was brought up from that? Let me know. I don't just want to talk your ears off.
I'll chime in really quick. I just wrote, it takes time to build trust with people as well. Like, sometimes when we have an offer and we just put it out, we just assume people are going to buy, but it's either not the right time or they just don't know you enough. Especially if it's something more personal. Yours is more product based, but still, it's like you still have to build trust with audience. And I think that's why the pre-launch and taking people through the experience, you're already starting to build trust with them before you launch. I think that's a huge piece. So that's something I thought of when you were talking. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think everybody's dollar is personal. You know, there are definitely some people who don't care about how they spend their dollar, but I vote with my dollar. Joanna, did you have something to say?
How do you build the discipline? How do you build the discipline? Because if you're like in this fear of like launching something, and like first like we come from this place that I'm scared how it's going to be received, like kind of because I want it to be like the best. Okay, if I'm finally okay with the idea that I'm putting out to like myself, my product, whatever it is, the service, um, how to build the discipline to start like launching it, going there. How do
You
you
put it
do
out there. Yeah, I think the number one thing is you have to have a tiny bit of organization, and we'll talk more about this in the next slide. But when I first started building, I made a specific photo folder on my phone. I said Rif Care, so that I would have to put pictures in there because I would open up my photos and I would see that album. I'm like, oh yeah, I took pictures of this or I did this. And so I'd start moving things over to the album. But I think also the discipline is in not caring about the outcome. Because when I first started uh, doing Riff, I was literally getting 3 to 7 likes per post. Like it was not now what we have some videos that have 10 million views. Oh, the news picked it up, all that stuff. It's like that's 3 years later. Okay. When I first started, the discipline came in this is only getting 7 views. This is only getting 7 likes. This is only getting 100 views. But besides that, I'm going to keep posting every day. That is the discipline. It doesn't matter what it is. I keep telling my friends, I'm like, if you have a camera roll with more than 1,000 photos, you have things to post. Post it anyway. Do it if nobody sees it. That is the discipline. Do not care about the likes. Don't hide your like count. Don't be, because I love when someone goes viral and then I go on their page because I like them. And then I see that they've been doing this since 2017. That's my favorite thing. Like, if you just went viral because you posted a snake on the side of the road, that was crazy. Like, good for you. I'm happy for you. But if you post a really interesting video and then I see, oh my God, she started this thing in 2013. And for some reason, I've just found her. That's really interesting to me. So just keep doing it every day. And even if you think the content is shit, I know a lot of people are afraid of not putting out something that's very meaningful, but in the beginning, you just need to build the habit of doing it because that is also perfection. The opposite of perfection is fucking doing it. So, and that is the discipline. You just post it, don't care what people say. And also, people are scared of posting every day because they're like, oh my God, my 100 people are going to get mad at me. The algorithm only shows 5% of your content. So you have to post every day for 6 months for the 100 people to even see it, anyways. Remember that. Posting every day doesn't matter. Everybody is not seeing your content. So just keep posting and then you'll also be able to learn what's resonating with people. So I'm going to go over this slide, but finding aligned mentors was number one. My co-founder went to UCSD. Like I said, my ex-boyfriend, our first investor, was in mergers and acquisitions. So I just started, she went into a school program and then we got aligned with the SBDC. If you live in California, SBDC is the small business something. I'm not good with acronyms. I have ADHD. But something. And we aligned with this mentor and we have a call with this guy, Craig, Coach Craig, every single month. Coach Craig knows everything about us. Coach Craig knows about, our breastfeeding and motherhood and periods. And Coach Craig is like a 60-something-year-old, like 6'4" Viking looking guy with a beard. And he's like our dad. Even me and Rebecca both don't have dads. Her dad is like, over here and my dad is dead. And so like we treat Coach Craig like dad, but business dad. Imagine if your dad was there for you, but he could talk you through anything. So finding those aligned mentors was amazing. I have also Asa on the screen, who's now one of our mentors for our business. And I mean, that has just been the most amazing thing to be like, who can I call? And we also did this through some business accelerators. Number two, as I said, find aligned partners who will meet you where you're at. So when we first built our company, like I said, we didn't have money to do like 100,000 boxes. When we first reached out to our manufacturer, they were like, oh, minimum order is 50,000 boxes, which is why there's only like 30 period care companies. It's so expensive to start. And we were like, we can afford a quarter of that. And we found people who were willing to work with us. We found people who were willing to do our minimums. You might be trying to design a book or a course and you're getting people quoting you $3,000. Keep asking people and let them know where you are. You'd be like, hey, if you can do this for $500, I'll give you 10% of all of my sales in the future. Like, you have to be willing to bargain with people, because a lot of people do not start a business because they reach out, they get a quote, they're like, that's too expensive, and they turn away. Those people are not fucking cut for this anyway, because you have to be willing to go through glass doors and paper walls. Paper walls are those things that are really simple, but for some reason people don't understand them. Like, I had met this guy and he was like very, very wealthy. And we were at this conference and I was like, so where did you make your money? And he's like, I invented the cup holder at the top of a cooler. Paper fucking wall. Like, that is not, people put their drinks on top of coolers. You know what I mean? But the people who've been making them just didn't think about it. And he was like, no, I don't like doing this. I'm just going to like put a little, and that was a patent. I was like, what? That seems so simple. So the paper walls are the things that seem so simple, and they really are. You just have to be finding the aligned people to help you push through those paper walls. And number 3, start before you're ready. I think this comes in the discipline. How many of you have said, I'm going to start when I move. I'm going to start when I have this money. I'm going to start when I have childcare. Yeah. When I move to LA, that's when I'm going to start. When I lose 20 pounds, that's when I'm going to start. That's when I'm going to start doing social media. When I get my nose job, when my hair looks like this, blah, 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 blah. Bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. No, you just have to start before you're ready. I mean, because I talked a little bit about the pre-launch on the previous screen, but our product was launching in June, shipping in June. We started posting about it on social media. I started posting 3 times a day on TikTok about a product that wasn't launched 6 months before we launched. I mean, that's when I say start before you're ready. Start before you are ready. And then number 4, find ways to put yourself out there. So even in the beginning, we were applying for pitch competitions. We were at farmers markets, which is not our target demographic, but grocery stores are. And I was like, it's so hard to gain followers. We all know this, but we would go to a farmer's market. We would meet 20 people and 10 of them would follow us. That's getting 10 followers in one day. You guys know how hard that is. I'm like, that is a win. Or that was getting 5 sales in one day. When you have a new business, I mean, in the beginning, we had days that we didn't have sales. Now we never go a day without sales. But in the beginning, you could go a week without sales. You could go 6 weeks and nobody buys a single thing. But if you are putting yourself out there in physical markets, and you might have a digital product, so it's different. But even just putting yourself out there and going to a women's center, mentioning that you have this thing that you're doing, one person might sign up. That's better than you sitting at home and not getting anybody to sign up. And then trade shows. So for our business specifically, really putting ourselves out there has to do with trade shows. We also applied for so many free applications for trade shows and got them. And one year we got free badges to Expo West. If anybody's going to Expo West, let me know in the comments, because we're doing an event and it's free, and I'll hit you up. But we applied for a pitch competition, ended up getting 2 free badges, or I think 4 free badges, which is like equivalent to $8,000, because those badges are so expensive, and we got in. So it's like putting yourself out there in that way will get you so much farther. You'd be surprised at how many things you can get for free. And then number 4, the internet as a launch pad. Oh, but before I move on, is there any comments that I didn't see or anything that anyone wants to chime in? If you raise your hand, I can see you come to the top.
Andrea said, do you think that you need an audience to launch something? As someone with a private Instagram and 1.5 thousand followers, I feel like if I don't have an audience, then I can't offer anything yet.
Oh, not true. I mean, my TikTok now is at 102,000, and I started with 0. 3 years ago, I had 0 on TikTok. I posted 3 times a day to no one. Okay. I was posting to an algorithm that does not favor, if you don't have like some type of tiny waist, big butt and showing off your body online, or you're not doing some dance. I was posting to no one. So no, not at all. And I think this also is some people's misconception, is they see people with audiences launch things, or somebody might look at my following and go, oh, Val has like 120,000 followers and blah, blah, blah. But I launch with zero, and that is the scariest thing. So I think if your Instagram is private and you're trying to launch something, I don't think it's wrong to, also start another Instagram. And sometimes you can make your private page a collaborator just because you already do have a little bit of a warm audience there. But we all have to start from zero. And even when so the Rif Care page has 36,000 followers now. We just recently got, in the past 4 months, we doubled our following from our first viral video. But before this, that page was actually a hair care page, and I bought it from someone. The page had like 10,000 followers. I bought it from someone because I was like, it's probably a women audience. You can buy people's Instagram pages from them if they're dead. Just DM them and be like, hey, are you using this anymore? Maybe somebody like had a dog page and the dog died. And like, you could just be like, I'm launching a pet care company. Can I buy your Instagram from you? You would be shocked. I've done that.
I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, there are websites where you can buy pages from people, and you can see if they're active or dead, and you can see the following count. So that is definitely something that I would suggest if you're scared to start from zero. Don't buy followers, buy someone's dead.
No. Yeah, I actually, I mean, I don't even think I would want to start posting on my own account, just because I feel like those are just like my private, like people that I've met along my life. It's, like I said, it's private, so it's not like strangers or anything. And I, first of all, feel like I'm even more self-conscious because it's all people I know. And so it's kind of like that fear of judgment kind of kicks in. And it might not even be like the type of content that they want to. So I would want to start a new account. I don't even have followers on TikTok. I'm just one of those that just looks at things on TikTok, and I have never like posted anything. So I would definitely start from scratch and maybe start just a new account, or buy one that has like a similar audience to what I'm looking for. I didn't know that was a possibility, but that sounds great. Thank you.
Yeah. I think a lot of people have thought this way, and especially me, because when I first started Rif, first of all, I said we were selling CBD lube, and I am like a Christian woman. I have, a very
I love it.
Yeah, I have a very separate, I don't know. I just was like, oh my God, I have to be talking about like sex and vaginas, periods. And half of my audience is actually quite conservative. So I was like, how am I going to start talking about this? And then I started to get reached out to from like sexual wellness companies. And I was like talking about vibrators and all this different stuff online. And that was really scary. Okay, my family is like very conservative, like South American, or like my dad's side, like Nigerian and Caribbean, right? And I was like, my grandmother's going to see me talking about this stuff.
Yeah.
And now she thinks it's so funny, and she reaches out to me and she's like, I can't believe you said this. And,
Yeah, it's not even that like I wouldn't want anyone that knows me to follow me. I just kind of want to also just start a whole new community, And if they want to follow me, people that know me, like I'd probably post on my private account, like, hey, I'm starting this if you're interested, but not necessarily like use the same account. I just feel kind of like what you're saying, like, okay, I have 0 followers or 10 followers, which is my family. And I'm just going to keep posting for them without anyone watching. But yeah, I guess that's how everyone starts.
Yeah, exactly. And I would say, I mean, a lot of people are just, afraid to start the account too, because of the amount of work that it actually takes to put it in. And like I said, for me, I just had to keep posting more frequently so that I could actually see what worked for me, because you might have an idea of what's going to work for your social media, but your audience, you might attract a completely different audience. And so what I had to do over these next few years was come up with content pillars. So using the internet as a launchpad is one of the most, not fearful, what is the word I'm trying to look for? It is just one of those things that it takes a lot. Like not everybody could do it. And I totally understand that. And you might not be that person. You might be like, look, I'm doing this for right now, but eventually I want someone to take this over for me. But you have to just start posting everything that comes to mind, because eventually you'll find your content pillars. Like my personal social media, my content pillars, as you see here, is like women's health, wellness and fitness, periods, and biohacking. So there's personally for me, there's a lot of things that encompass my full brand. And that is it. So I decided that's going to be my personal brand. You might see me talking about peptides. You might see me talking about healthcare supplements or red light therapy or periods or perimenopause, everything that has to do with my experience, because I was like, I don't want to just talk about periods all day. I'm not on my period every day. There's so much more that encompasses women's health, you know? So think about what that is for you. I don't know if anybody, is there anybody on here who actually has something they're building who is kind of confused about what to post and what content pillars? Maybe someone can give an example. Anyway, if you have any, you can just throw it in the comments. If anybody is like,
Claudia put her hand up. Where is she? Let me let her in. Where are you, Claudia? You can unmute yourself or I'll try to do it. I'm trying to find you because you guys are on the, oh, there you are. Unmute. There we go. Here we are.
Yeah, I guess hi. Sorry. So your question was like if we're confused on what kind of content to post. I definitely am kind of confused because I guess I'm all over the place, being that I'm trying to build my boutique, but as well continue to grow my and support my chef career. So I guess because I have a really good following that's pretty interactive. It's not big or anything. It's like a little less than 5,000, but it's actual people that I've met throughout the years traveling. And I tend to post a little bit of everything, but nothing's very consistent. And I always feel like I have to post everything because I mean, it's, I guess what I'm trying to say is I feel like I do need some guidance and trying to build a structure because I do have my boutique IG, but I almost never use it. And I'm just kind of like feeling like I just should keep on using my personal IG just because I already have a base and the people that are on there do actually want to buy my pieces and also want to hire me to cook for them and so forth.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so Claudia's one of my best friends. So this is kind of an easy example because I know her so well, but she has this brand called Salvage Sauvage, and it's this amazing vintage brand, right? And the interesting about Claudia is like every piece has a story. And I feel like every piece could have that story told. Like you could have one content pillar that's just talking about like you have this huge Max Mara vintage collection, and I love it. And there are people who are specifically looking for vintage Max Mara and they use the internet as a search tool. You have to remember that. People are using ChatGPT, yes. But for me, when I look for anything, I go to YouTube or I go to TikTok. Instagram is not as much of a search tool. It's kind of difficult to search on there. But so one of your content pillars could be like sourcing pieces. This is how I find my pieces or the story behind the pieces. Another content pillar is just showing outfit of the day, right? And then another content pillar could be you sitting down, talking about different materials and why they're so important. And that's so much of your personality. That's when you have the collaboration post of Salvage Sauvage and Claudia. And that's a collaboration because you're sitting down as a founder and you're telling the story behind the fabric, behind why it's so important to you. You have a health journey. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
with me with Instagram, if I'm ever talking about designing of a product or my personal story, that's when I'll do a collaboration. Or if I'm like, oh, this is our 5th round of samples for these underwear, that'll be a collaboration post between myself and the business. And then of course, if it's an infographic and the infographic is just talking about the percentage of women with endometriosis, then that just goes on Rif Care. So if it's a piece where it's like, hey, this is available, this is the price, this is the fit, some more information. And then you also like to talk about vintage. It's like you can go to Pinterest and look up a million vintage images of, Claudia Schiffer and Naomi Campbell, and you can post those things just to Salvage Sauvage. And that's a completely different content pillar that would not be posted on yours. Or maybe sometimes it would if it's like inspiration or you're making a collage. But yeah, it's important to know what's my personal content pillar as a personal brand, because your personal brand is being a private chef also. And you do that so amazingly. And I mean, in reality, you're just curating your own world. You're curating your life. And so part of curating your life is your outfits of the day that you post. And then part of curating your life is this beautiful experience you create for people in their homes and being a private chef. Those things don't have to be totally separated. There's lots of fashion fashionistas who are also chefs and cook, and they're into that. So it's like you have your lifestyle brand. Yeah. Does anyone else have another example maybe of what you're building?
In the chat, we have Jennifer, and I think Katrin also said something. So if you guys, do you want me to read it, or if you guys want, you can just jump on.
Either work.
I can't see everyone, so I'll read it. I'll read for Jennifer. So it says,
Oh, I'm here.
oh, are you there, babe? Okay, perfect.
Oh yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Hi. So basically, like I have had my own like personal self brand for a long time. And then I've been a realtor like the last few years, and then now I just bought like a wellness lounge that I'm running. And I also do like reverse aging and like wellness, like lifestyle coaching and retreats. So I'm like all over the place, like but all kind of in the same, but not at all. So I've been like, I just started a TikTok, and I just started a YouTube for like my Eterna house and for my Genius life. Like, so I have two at least, because I was like, I can't do more than two, I think right now. But yeah, I don't know. I just feel like I don't know what I'm literally like posting something right now of me on my thing on my computer. Like, I mean, it's like seems like it's going well, but like I just feel like I'm all over the place.
Yeah. You know, it's really interesting that you said real estate and then you just acquired this wellness space. And I'm like, so your thing is like, you know how to curate a space and make people feel good and make people feel comfortable and at home. And like, that's a storyline within itself. There's a personal brand that goes with that, right? Like you're into curating spaces and helping people feel like their best self. And so those definitely sound like separate pages, but there's a way that someone can come to you and be like, wow, Jennifer knows how to curate a space. You know what I mean? So that's very interesting. I also, if you guys put your Instagrams and stuff in the comments, I'd love to see what they look like and follow.
Yeah, I'll put all 100 of them. No, I'm just kidding. Just a couple of them. I've done too many things in life.
Oh my God. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, did somebody else want to go? I think there's one more and then we'll move on.
Katrin, do you want me to read it, or do you want to jump in?
Well, I can just quickly say it. So I'm going to launch a course about growing orchids, but well, that's kind of like a side business. I'm mainly a yoga teacher and a coach and so on, but I decided to do it because I have more than 200 orchids in my apartment, and I have them since 25 years, and everybody's asking me like, what do I have to do so that I don't kill them or to get them back to bloom and so on? So I decided I will do a course out of that because that's easy. And now I will start and use Pinterest for that to get them on my lead magnet, and then hopefully soon do a launch with that.
Wow, that's okay. I cannot keep an orchid alive for like 3 days. So I need to buy this course, and I love orchids. I always get them and then they somehow die, but that's my next life goal. That's amazing. There's so much you could do. I mean, with your page, you can have a whole section that's like infographics where you talk about the science of growing plants and doing all that. I mean, that you could do a post every single week. And also there are like hundreds of types of orchids. I went to Cuba and there's an orchid forest. If you ever go to Cuba, I like illegally sneaked into the country, but you can get there if you really try. And there's so many different types. Like you could be talking about a different type of orchid every single week on social media with a swipe through. And then you're educating people, right? So there's the education piece, and then there's the DIY piece and the teaching people. And then also orchids are beautiful. There's a portion of your social media that is just showing people beautiful things, no matter what you're doing, right? Even if it's something wellness or biohacking, people's brains are so aesthetic. And so that's why I love that you said Pinterest, because there is a part of your business, like you just need to show people beautiful things, because then people will follow just because they know it's going to look pretty on their feed and they like being inspired when they scroll. And also the last thing I'll say about the internet as a launch pad, if you are already on social media every day, I suggest for TikTok, there's people who post things to stories. I'm like, just post your stories to TikTok. You'd be surprised at how low effort you have to be, and try to be more of a creator than a consumer. If I catch myself scrolling for 5 minutes, I stop and I'm like, I have 5 videos that could be drafted right now. Stop scrolling. You are living other people's dream. You are helping other people pay their bills, and post. So that is a rule. If you scroll for 5, go to CapCut, go to your editing app, go to your drafts, and just post something. And then you feel, first of all, less like a loser, And second of all, way more productive. If I'm scrolling and I'm not saving videos to inspire me to make another video, then I am wasting my time, period. Like I can't.
That's a good structure. Yeah. And a good reminder to keep the focus on what you want to reach.
Yeah. 3% of people who are on social media actually create on social media. So do you want to be the 3% or the 97%?
Yep.
It's like a choice. A choice. Okay, so why women's health is still a radical space and a huge opportunity. Everybody here seems like they're into some type of health. I also love how dynamic everyone is. I love it's like realtor, but wellness. And then you're like orchids, but I also do this. But I'm like, women are so crazy. We just do like 17 things in our life. Like, because we can. We're creators. Naturally, we're creators. You have to remember that. That's in our DNA. It's in our womb space. It's everything. So, I mean, for me, I decided to get into women's health too, because it's like, okay, yeah, there's period products but there's still so much penetration that could happen in this market, no pun intended. But every market that you have, there's going to be people who are like, oh, there's 1 million people in this space. And there's already people who have an ebook and there's 1 million realtors. If you do not believe that you will be the top 1% in whatever you get into, then don't even start it. Don't do it. No, I'm just kidding. Well, you can pray about it for sure. I suggest you do that because you have to have your blinders on when it comes to what you're doing. You cannot have people tell you that it's an oversaturated space and blah, blah, blah. And if you do it for a year and you really do find that it doesn't make any sense, but that mostly happens with industries where, you remember when everybody had those ring lights that hooked onto your phone and everybody was having them for a little bit, or the Lumi cases, and everybody had these light up cases and Kim Kardashian liked them. See, that's one of those spaces where there's 1 million people who are going to get on Amazon and do this quick fulfillment. And then in a year, it's not going to be a trend anymore. I don't think any of us are trying to build that. Nobody in this call seems like they're trying to build some quick Amazon, let me just sell like 12-foot long phone chargers and like make as much money as possible and get out. Like we are actually trying to change industries. We're actually trying to help people do things long-term. We're not trying to sell things that are just going to be in the trash in 24 hours. And so you have to see where there's those big opportunities, like where can I penetrate the market? How can I do it differently? Every single industry has something that's still missing. Even in our space, in the period care space, there's so much that needs to grow. I'm like, there's really no brands that are focused on women with fibroids and endometriosis. And I put some of these stats here, but $2.6 billion invested directly into women's health companies, which seems like a lot. But we're still only receiving 2% of overall funding, which means 98% of business funding goes to men, 2% goes to women. And I have been hearing that stat for 10 years and it has not changed. I think it's like 2.3% now. And the rest of the 98% goes to men. That's disgusting. And it's because women need to be giving money to other women, but I think it's also because women need to just be pushing their way into these spaces and not taking the fact that like there's already 1 million people doing it. You could do it better for women. You could start it. We make up 80% of the total consumer spend. We are the decision makers. We should be getting access to these opportunities and to this funding. And there's just so many markets that are growing for us right now. I like to look at data and see what's growing, and whether it's growing positively or negatively. How can I input myself into that situation so that I can benefit off of that? I'm going to go next unless anybody has something to say.
Val, Meg is asking where she can find the CBD on your site. Is that a thing?
We don't sell it anymore because we went onto Shopify and it was so hard with Shopify. So that's the thing. Even the thing that you might start might not be the thing that you do in the future. So that was our launch pad. I think we made our first like $8,000 in the first 6 months from selling the CBD lube. But then as we started to scale, we realized it was kind of difficult and we didn't want to have to be blocked by payment processors and blocked off PayPal and blocked off Shopify. So we moved on from that. And sometimes it happens and it's still like a fun memory, but it's not in existence anymore.
Great. And then Diana said, have you made any with natural vitamins?
No, not vitamins or supplements yet, but it's always been in our timeline. I mean, our whole brand ethos is from menstruation to motherhood. So how can we support a girl from her first period till when she becomes a mom? Like, how can I be in this girl's cabinet for the next 20, 30 years? Like, that's what we want to do as a company. And so I think that can be in the pipeline for sure. And I love seeing women's companies launching. There's one company called Looni, Looni, and they make women's supplements. And there's another one called, what is it called? I think Rebecca Kath is on the call. I'm not sure, but Cheeky Bonsai, they make like UTI supplements and stuff. I mean, there's so many cool companies popping up, and there's so many opportunities. Think about all the problems you have as a woman and the products you can't find to heal them, or the products that kind of work, but they're not that great. Like, there are people making these products, and I believe in those women, and I hope they get funding and more opportunity. Oh wait, did I skip a slide? Nope, this is it.
We have one more question just before we move on. Do we have time to do one more question here?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So Andrea said, what is the best place/way for you to find data on markets, and what worked best for you?
Oh my gosh. So there are a lot of data companies that will take an initial call with you. Like, sometimes you might Google, oh, I need to find a trend report for, how much a certain vitamin is selling, or I need to find a trend report to how's Chasteberry doing in the market. And then you'll find these companies that'll sell this data, and it'll be like $5,000, $10,000. Reach out to these people and book a call for free, book a free call. Because a lot of times they'll give you data on the call. Then I just go on mute and I just start screenshotting shit. And I get my free data, and then I move on. So yeah. And then also ChatGPT has a lot of this data now. If you make friends with your bankers, ask your bankers about how to find this data, because sometimes banks will send you information about certain things. We're with Chase, and now Chase sends us this report. Let the big guys pay for the reports. Learn on other people's dime. They have the money. It's okay if you don't. Get what you can for free. Or sometimes I'll have a virtual assistant. I'll be like, get on this call, be camera off the whole time, screen record with your phone. So my assistant will be on the call with these people, and she'll just be like this. And I'm like, I don't care. You guys make $5 million a month. I'm getting my free shit. Like, it is.
Yeah, I'm just starting out, just trying to find some resources. Okay, those are great. Thank you.
Yeah. And then ChatGPT, you'll be surprised.
Yeah.
ChatGPT doesn't go into depth, but between ChatGPT and Gemini, people are feeding so much information into them, legally or illegally, that you can find a lot of stuff.
Okay.
You can find your TAM, SAM, SOM, total market value, dollar change in the past 52 weeks, blah, 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 all of that. I swear.
So basically, Val's not a rule follower. Okay.
I love that.
Sometimes you gotta think outside the box. It's so good.
I don't
refreshing.
know. Johnny, if you're still in this call, he would say that I'm a rule follower. I'm like, you can't cross the street. He's like, we're crossing the street. I'm like, okay, Johnny. Okay, how to keep purpose before product. So I think a lot of us, when we're building, like I said, you see these people starting these weird, like, oh, let me sell this super cheap Temu thing on Amazon. Like, there's the Temus and the Sheins of the world, and then there's the Rif Care of the world. And guess what? We have to move differently, because we are building trust with people, right? Whether we're building a physical product or a digital product, you're building trust with people so that they can invest in your dream. Essentially, every time you ask someone to follow you, when you ask someone to sign up for your webinar, everybody who even came here today, I was asking you to sign up for my dream. And one of my dreams is to be a public speaker and talk to people and try to help them. And you all signed up today. So, I mean, I'm trying to make sure that I'm sharing things that are actually going to be valuable to you. Sometimes I just want to show you pretty things, but a lot of times I want you to walk away feeling like, oh, I learned something today. Even if you forget in the next 3 hours, hopefully next week you see a post again, and then you learn something new, and then it reminds you of something that I said. I mean, we put out a free ebook because it's like, it is a free book, right? People are going to come to my website and maybe not buy anything and get this, but they might learn something. And maybe that makes them trust me down the line. Or maybe when our product is in Walmart or Target and they're in the middle of Ohio and they see it, I've given them something for free. I've enriched their life. I've done something purposeful for them so that they will eventually invest in my dream. And even if they never do, maybe I just move the needle for them. Maybe by giving them that product or explaining to them my purpose, they will realize something within themselves that'll help them have more purpose for what they're doing. It's like, I'm not in charge of how this thing makes you feel, but the intention behind it, the intention behind every single thing I'm building has to cause some positive change in someone's life, or it's not worth it. I think there's a question or two.
I have just a quick question before I let other people talk. I'm sorry. I just a specific question about your products. I just moved from Colorado to Mexico literally 3 weeks ago. And I mean, it's a little bit of a specific case where I'm on an island off of Cancun and there is literally nothing for periods. I mean, obviously there is, but like the most toxic 30 years ago, people use those. So I was wondering, first of all, just for personal reasons, like, do you ship products? My mom's coming to visit soon and she's in the States, so she can bring it for me. But I'd love to know if you're in Mexico or Mexico City at least, or like international. Do you have anything?
We actually ship to Mexico via Amazon. So if you
Oh,
look
you
on,
do?
if you have anything on Amazon Mexico, we do ship to Mexico via Amazon. Rebecca's on the call. She can be 100% certain, but I know at some point I was like, what is this Mexico charges on my Amazon bill? And she's like, we ship to
Yeah.
Mexico. And I was like, that I didn't know that. So
Oh,
apparently
I
that's
can get Amazon here. It takes like a month, but it's fine. I can definitely get it delivered through Amazon, so that's amazing.
yeah. And I know a lot of people have talked about like not supporting Amazon or whatever, but I do realize that it's just a very accessible place for people.
Yeah.
So especially like as we're talking about purpose in this slide, it's like my purpose has to be as much to help people and make this accessible as it has to be to have this beautiful brand that follows all this ethos. So before this, for 7 years, I was a talent agent. And my agency was called Role Models Management. And with Role Models Management, our number one goal was to work with sustainable brands, work with mission-oriented brands, blah, blah, blah. But as a matter of fact, to pay the bills, we had to work with brands like Gucci. We had to work with brands like Gap because those people paid the bill so that we could do the rest of the stuff that we wanted to do. That was always really important. If you can't pay your bills and you're 5 years in and you still can't pay your bills because I only sell to blah, 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 then are you really spreading your purpose enough? In my opinion, I don't know. You can ask yourself that question. I'm not going to answer it for you. But like I said, we got into that situation. We even worked at one point with like H&M and Forever 21, and we were trying to work with them on their sustainability messaging and some of the things that they were doing that were better. But I remember my business partner was like, we shouldn't work with them at all. And I was like, that's like $100,000 in the year for our business. And we're trying to host 5 beach cleanups. We're trying to go back and speak to women and girls and give them things and have these partnerships with these other brands. And I was like, that's going to pay for that.
Yeah, also just do what you can with what you got, right? So maybe if I was still in Colorado and I can find them at a small organic store, I'd love to do that. But
Yeah.
for here, it's like I either do Amazon or I can't use them at all. So
I know exactly. You know, there's always going to be a give and take, but maybe your mom can bring some to you. We have a personal assistant who lives in the Philippines and she has family who lives here. They bring her like suitcases of stuff. I love it.
I'll probably get some panties so that I don't have to, they just last longer and just, yeah.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so going into building with integrity. So something no one tells you. Number one is you might have to build slower and be more cautious with messaging, right? We are trying to build trust, whether that's in the pre-launch phase, if you're there, or building trust in the, hey, I just released this thing and I want you to take your hard-earned dollar and buy it from me. You have to be kind of cautious. I feel like your number one job, this second part of the slide, is to educate and build as much as possible. This is not a common sense message, right? The common sense message to everyone now, unfortunately, is like fast food and Walmart and Kotex and scrolling mindlessly. That seemed like common sense to people. You know, when you tell people that, oh, that thing is actually bad for you, or like McDonald's is actually going to kill you. How is that not common sense when it's common sense to us? If you're on this call, I think we're in a bubble. And so you have to think about people outside of our bubble. As much as I would love to sell to only women in this community, I realize that I have to talk in my messaging about comfort a lot, because some girls don't care if it's organic or not. They just care if it's comfortable. And so when you go into these different content pillars, it's like comfort is one. Another thing we just talked about with a mentor is like, there's a factor of ours that's be like, oh, polyester and plastic pads grow bacteria. So let's talk about just the disgust factor of why you should switch to organic, right? And then there's another thing where some people just want to see funny memes about periods. and some people just want to see educational stuff. And so in our content pillars, we're like, how can we build trust with people who this is not common sense, who do not live in our women's circle, breath work, organic yoga bubbles, right? And so that is very important. This is not common sense. People are not stupid because they're not in our bubble. And we have to teach and talk to those people in a completely different way. Like, think about everything as if you were talking to a first grader. A first grader does not know about tantric breathing, right? So just talk about, oh my God, do you feel stressed and you feel like you need to be on all these medications and do all these, like, that might be the messaging for that person. You know, it's completely different than our bubble. And when I talk about building slower, you know, with organic brands, they're growing year over year, huge opportunity. But my category is like 5% of the entire category. And the goal for me is that in 10 years, organic is 50% and conventional is 50% rather than 95 and 5. And still, even in our bubble of organic, it's $5 billion versus $60 billion. Like, how can we just slowly over the next 10 years build that? I don't need it to happen overnight, but 10 years is, you already know, 10 years is so quick. Everybody's doing that like 2016 throwback. Think about how fast that 10 years went. That felt like yesterday for me. So by the time I look up, yes, organic or wellness or everything will be more. So just keep in mind, 10 years is not that far from now. And if you just do your little bit every single day, it's a slow build, but it's a, you know, huge opportunity. I think this is my second to last slide. So if anybody has something to say or chime in, please do. But, you know, 2 women's story, me and my co-founder, Rebecca, to real world change. I mean, you can see on the left there, that's us at a school. It's something that we love to do. We helped an organization this year reach their 1 million pad goal. When the fires were happening last year, we were able to donate product. We're able to get grants so that we can give away product to other people. So our goal was to start this brand to help women, but now there's so many ways in which we can help women. We also wrote an ebook, which Michelle will put in the chat. It's free. It's called the Monarch Manual. It's a way to talk to young women, whether it's your daughter or niece, or if you're a teacher, women who you're talking about periods. That's a really safe space. It was built especially for girls aged 10 to 15 to learn more about their bodies and hormones. And then there's me doing a TV interview at the bottom. And I was like, wow, this is a chance. And me and my co-founder were also in a reality show on Roku called Side Hustlers. But now we have these opportunities to speak to thousands or tens of thousands of women at one time. But, you know, it just started with our 0 followers, posting when people had only 7 likes. And now we've sold about 1 million pads, thousands of pairs of underwear. We're in grocery stores. You know, this year, our goal for the end of the year is to reach $1.5 million of sales, which would be, you know, triple from last year because we're only 3 years old, and be in 1,000 grocery stores. So like, it's building. I see it now. It has not been overnight. We are not where we want to be, and that's totally fine. But our stories have helped build something that we can physically see making change in the world. And that was the whole goal, no matter how long it takes. That's our mission. So I think that's everything I have to say. And I want to hear from you ladies. Okay, stop. Now I can see everyone. Hi.
Val, this was amazing. I didn't even know what you were going to really talk about today exactly, but I took a lot of notes of what you were saying. Really beautiful. And you're very clear and honest. And I think your rawness too is very refreshing. And I love the fact that you just don't follow the book. Like, there's a book that has been written and we can rewrite that. Like, there's always a way. If you want something, there's a way. And same with the summit. I had no idea. This is my first summit. I've never done one before. I didn't know what I was doing, but I knew I would do it. So I kind of just had to trust it, that the summit was on its way before it actually got there. So I love when you were saying, like, just start now. Like, don't wait. Like, just start putting one thing out there at a time. This was really, really cool. Thank you so much.
And like this girl was saying on TikTok, she was like, I'm a problematic girl. And like, you know, when you're problematic, you're understood. Sometimes you're the black sheep in your family and you don't do things a certain way, and you might stand out online in a different way. You're just not following the rules. And I'm like, you know what? I'm fucking problematic, and that's fine. It's catapulted me in life. I've not done things the way that they were supposed to be done. I've never had a traditional job, you know, and I worked in places sometimes, and I'm a great employee, but I just obviously wasn't a fit at TJ Maxx. Like I wasn't, you know? And so that's fine. I'm problematic. And I think it's got me to where I am. My friends on here know I'm a mess, but like I'm always doing it for the good of the women and for the good of the people.
I call it a beautiful chaos. I think
Yeah.
all the women in here, like the fact that we were just dancing and making weird shapes with our bodies earlier, like we are that woman who's going to try something different. Like you ladies are the women who are going to change the world, because we're not going to let shit limit us from creating what we know we can. It's already in motion. You're already on this call. You're already listening. And even just energetically, like hearing Val, hearing me, being in a space together, like it's already on its way. Yeah. Joanna.
Okay, so I'm gonna if I can quickly share something, I'm gonna put it out. Thank you, Valerie. It was just like so amazing, and you just made something very clear for me because it's hard for me to make this step. I was working like in corp all the time, and now I'm just like unemployed and scared, and like I'm in this moment of transition. Like my background always, I studied a long time ago. I was to university, I did like psychology, coaching, like all this stuff, but I put it in a bag. I only did it for myself. What I'm working now, and I could put it like in one thing, it's like I love breath work. It's like why I love you. Um, and it's like and the thing that connected me with you, Valerie, it's like I want this little thing that is like candles. Candles. We all love candles. We all love candles in the spiritual world. But what I love is this little feminine, this little girl that is inside, and she was trapped. She was trapped because of every trauma, all the things that happened to me. We all have our old demons, whatever. It doesn't matter. But the candles, they're going to be called inner seasons. It's for a period, for menstrual cycles. Every week is a cycle. It's like it's autumn, it's spring, it's summer. They're going to have different the colors, a scent for every week. So they're so different. Why is it matters? I had depressions my whole life. I didn't know how my hormones worked. I couldn't control that. The moment that I realized and I started to be aligned with the moon, with my cycle. I am just like a switch watch right now. I know I control my hormones and my moods because I know my feminine sign finally. I'm like this little wolf. So I want to teach these little girls, these young women who are not aligned with themselves, with this reminder, like when you're gonna put this candle this week and it's gonna be like a little pinkish color and you're gonna know, oh, this is my lunar cycle. Like that's why I'm this, that's why I'm crazy, or that's why I'm calm, that's why I feel sexy, that's why I feel sad. You will control yourself with this little reminder. So finally I put it out there, but I was like, I already have, like, I didn't know if it's gonna work, but I believe in it. I believe that this is like a little thing, but it's not out there. And I feel like we all use these candles, and why we not going to use it to reconnect to our feminine side. And it's also go like with your thing that you're teaching women to be so connected with themselves. I feel like this little thing and me being coach and but like in all these way breathwork everything, but also this little thing, connect with your girl, connect with your girl, learn yourself that you're in the feminine body and it has its moods. And yeah, so thank you. I'm just like putting it out there, and maybe finally I'm gonna do some shit about it. I appreciate you, Valerie and Michelle. Thank you.
I love that. And you know what's so funny is I feel like during my cycle, I definitely use different perfumes on different week. And you know, when your mood changes and you want to light a certain candle, not the other. So that is so smart. I even use different lotions like on different weeks. You know what I mean? You just want to smell and feel different. Maybe your skin's more dry or you change your skincare week to week during your cycle or during the seasons. So that's so brilliant. I love that.
Joanna, I'm going to be your first customer, okay? You just tell us when, and we're there. Oh, so good. All right, Val, is there anything else? I'm going to start closing up here. Anything else that you wanted to mention or name? Okay.
No, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, this was really cool. Like I said, I wasn't sure. I was like, I just trust, and I knew as soon as I saw Val, I was like, oh, there she is, and here you are. Again, it's the same thing. I saw her and I'm like, oh, I see her in the summit, and then this is how it gets birthed, right? It's like you have this vision, but then you follow through. I could have seen Val and not said anything, but when I saw her, did I not speak to you almost within 5 minutes? I'm like, hey, I'm going to talk to you later. I have a summit you're going to speak at. And then I left and she's like, okay. And so here she is, right? Like this is how that energy works and how things get birthed. And believing in yourself. I think you've really taught us too to really believe in our visions and ourselves so that we can get this stuff out there. So thank you ladies again so much. And just tomorrow we are day eight of the summit. Holy moly, 8, 9, 10. Yes, we have Dr. Petty. He's a functional medicine doctor. You don't want to miss this. He's going to talk about hormonal root cause of hormonal imbalance. A very, very important topic. He's very digestible. He'll give you so many different things you can work on and look at so that you can help your system. So definitely pop on tomorrow at 11 a.m. And then, of course, at 9:30 a.m., you'll have breath work with me. So those of you that are in the challenge or just want to try it, you're on the call for the first time tonight, definitely come join us. It is magical. And also, hold on one second. Let me move this. The last thing is we have our community as well. So we've been dropping in journal prompts every day, which I have to do after this call for today's, and just ladies getting to know each other in the communities. So I'm going to go ahead, give me 1 second, and I'm going to drop that in the chat right now because I didn't have that prepped. 1 second. Let me just grab this here. Beautiful. Members invite. Great. So I'm going to copy paste this here now. So if you're here and you're not in there, please join us. We're having so much fun in there and a great way to stay in touch and for me to be able to deepen your experience too with us during the summit. It's a free community. It has all the replays, the playlists as well. I know you guys have been obsessed with the playlists. So that's it for now. I love you all as always.